Well, this is not a very pleasant angle right here, but you're in my kitchen. Why are we in my kitchen? Look at this. This is not my apron. It's actually a gift from me to my wife. It's my wife's apron. So why am I wearing an apron? Because I am cooking tonight. I normally cook because I cook the best. But what are we cooking today? I'm cooking a dish that is famous in Asia, specifically in Korea. So we're cooking kimchi stew. If you've never had kimchi stew, you should go see a doctor. But anyways, here are the ingredients we need. Some carrots and some pork butts that I picked up freshly from Costco. And obviously some kimchi. This is the best I can find here on island. Obviously we need garlic, a little bit of ginger, and I put a little bit of a shrimp paste into the stew to add a little bit of flavor. So I'm not following a recipe at all. This is just me putting whatever I like and whatever my wife likes to basically make a dish, if you will. So our first step obviously is to prepare our protein, right? I like my stew with a lot of meat. Look at all these meat, right? When I first heard the name pork butt, I honestly thought this was the butt of a pork, but it's actually talking about this part near your neck, I guess shoulder part, to the back of a pig. So beautiful piece of meat right here. So these meat are pre-cut into chunks, or I don't know how you call these, but they're the stick, right? They're pre-cut into these. We'll have to slice them into smaller chunks, bite size, in order for us to use as stew meat. So, by the way, I'm not a big fan of the wood cutting board, so this is what I have. You should take a look. So these are rock. I don't know what they're called, but it's easier to clean, and it doesn't matter what you cut on here. You can just simply rinse it, apply some soap, and then get it off pretty quickly. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cut it from the middle. The only thing about these rocks that I'm not sure about is, does it actually dulls my knife? I think it dulls my knife quicker if I cut stuff on here versus a wood one, or never use a plastic one. That's my advice. Get these microplastics. So I cut them into these small chunks, and I must slice them in the middle so they're a little bit more easier to manage. Right, like this. It's one piece. That's pretty good. It's the size that we're going after. So I'm gonna do that for all of these. And these are just beautiful. The meat, look at it. Also, a little tip about cutting these meat, alright? Sometimes it can get really hard because of the grease. What you do is you apply a little bit of water on here. It'll go slide down the meat a little bit easier. But these, look at how satisfying that is. What a beautiful cut piece of meat right here. I've never learned, I didn't go to school for cooking, right? I just learned all of my cooking by watching videos or watching my grandma cook growing up. So all of the recipes that I've learned, all of these flavors that I've learned, all from my grandma and my mom. Mom didn't cook as often, but for the most part my grandma, because she cooks a lot for the family. So after we finish cutting these meat, what we're gonna do is we're gonna dice up the vegetables, the side ingredients, and what? I'll go get them. It's fine. They're not here yet. Well, Tia picked up, or no, Tia ordered some Jersey Mike's. So let's go pick it up for her. Hey, for Tia? All right, absolutely.
How are you doing?
Good, you? Oh, thanks.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
You too. Well, you might be asking why is Tia ordering food, but I'm also cooking. It's because, right here. It's because, well, we don't have any food left over for her to eat. Because right now she's working. She only has 30 minutes as lunch break. God, my freaking dog is so freaking annoying. But anyways, well, I suppose my dad had taught me a little bit about teaching too. At least cutting and techniques on using knives, right? And what I learned is, here, let me demonstrate it to you. So when you grab the food, right hand with your knife, right? If you're right-handed, with your left hand, you want to use your knuckles, right here, the front two knuckles, to use as a support of your knife, right? Go down. Now you don't put your fingers on there where the knife is going. nor any of the other fingers, right? You want to keep them on the back end so you can have a good grip of the food material that you're cutting. And then when you're slicing down, use the knuckles as your guide, right? So same thing, you want to have a good grip of the meat, but none of my fingers are underneath the blade, right? And it just takes practice for someone to do this quickly, right? The chefs, they really have thousands of hours of practice before they can get to a level where they can cook super quick. And obviously you don't want your material to be sliding around while you're cutting, because it doesn't only make the finished product like it's broken, but it's also very dangerous if you don't have your food material stabilized. Oh my god, look at what Kai is doing. Look at what he's doing. He was holding his butt. But anyways, also the reason why I like this cut of meat, pork butt, is I bought 9.4 pounds and then I spent $30, $28 on 10 pounds of meat, right? I'm only using half of it. Not even, I'm using 1/3 of what I bought. And then I cook a meal like this, it'll last us, I don't know, 3 to 4 meals, right? So it's very easy and simple. As much as I wanted to have a lot of varieties in our meals, in what we eat, it is pretty time consuming, not gonna lie, cooking. If you don't want to eat the same thing every day, right? I mean, honestly, you can use air fryer, which I have used to cook simple and quick, easy dinner or meal. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen my stream yesterday, we got to play with a 7-year-old viewer. His name is Jack. If you're watching, shout out to Jack. He's pretty good at Fortnite, not gonna lie. I was surprised. At your age, and most importantly, he was playing on PC. He was 7 years old, playing on PC. And he's what, 400, level 400 something? Look at this, brand new. So, obviously one of the downsides of having a stone cutting board is obviously the weight of it. It is a little heavy, but all I need to do is use a little bit of paper towel, wipe the surface of this thing, which is cleaned, and then it's ready to go. It's ready for more cooking and cutting. You don't have to do anything to it. And I always like to keep my cooking station clean. Once I finish using a material, I put it away right away, so it's not cluttered over here on the surface. And the other day, I saw this trick of peeling garlic. As you know, they're very flaky. It's hard to peel them off, but I saw this video. Let me try it, see if it works. So the concept is you use your knife, and how do they do it? So your garlic is like this, but flip it upside down. You put your knives in here. You cut into each cloves, I think. And after you've done this to all the sides, all you need to do is peel it open. I think I'm doing it wrong, by the way. I think I just did this wrong. But it's supposed to come off really easy from what the video showed, but you know what, it's fine. I don't know how much this has helped with the process. Might have made it a little bit more complicated from my perspective. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Once you peel out all the garlic, you just want to trim the parts that doesn't look as pretty. See that? I don't think this step is necessary. Obviously you don't want to eat anything that doesn't look good. But some of y'all might be asking me, wait, aren't you Chinese? Why don't you cook something Chinese? So see, this dish right here technically is Korean, right? But you know how hard it is to get authentic Chinese food materials to cook Chinese food? And let me just tell you how different it tastes if the material is not authentic. There's some stuff I just can't find here in America to cook a good Chinese dish. And a key element to have a good Chinese dish is your fire. It's the temperature. Now these electric stove, they're garbage. They do not put out consistent heat at a higher level. Once you're adding the material to cool down the temperature of the pot, it will take them forever to come back up. What would that look like? Ground beef, if you put them in a hot pot and you just let them brown, the excessive water from the meat will just come out as you cook it. But if your temperature is high enough, that will never happen, right? So that's a sign that tells you the temperature is not consistent. So with these garlic, I treat them like onions, right? You give them a couple of slices from the top. I remember how I taught you how to hold things earlier. It's the same thing for smaller items too. You just gotta Use your two finger and your fingernail as a shield and guide, right? To make sure your food material doesn't slide away. So same thing, hold it down like this, right? I'm using my knife, the back of my knife against my finger, and I look at how my thumb is, right? I'm hiding behind the blade. I'm not trying to cut my thumb with the blade. You gotta always watch out for that. You start slow, but the more time you cook, the more familiarized, the faster you become with your knife, right? So this is what I want to tell you about cooking. Cooking is a skill you have to learn. You don't have to be the best chef in the world, but you at least need to learn how to use fire or different temperature and to combine the flavor of different food materials. Because once you learn how to cook, and then once you know where to find the food material, you will never starve again. There's nothing wrong with going to the restaurant. There's nothing wrong with buying pre-cooked food. But if you don't know how to cook as a basic skill, you will suffer. Once I dice up some garlic, I set them aside, get them ready for me to use later. And get out some carrots. Almost forgot waiting onion. Always wash your vegetables. And put the head of these carrots. So these carrots, normally I peel them. So I peel the skins. But these ones, really, you don't have to peel them if you don't want to. You can keep the skin on. They'll taste fine. Maybe it's more like a textural thing. So you slice the onion halfway. Makes it easier to peel the skin, in my perspective. So obviously you peel the outside of the onion, the brown part of the onion. And sometimes, if you look inside closely enough, this very outside layer right here, this part is hard as plastic. You do not want to eat this, so peel this off. Once that's done, you take your knife, you slice this part, and you slice the tail. Now this baby's ready to be diced, but normally I do my whole thing, dice them smaller, but for this dish, you don't really need them to be as small. Really, what I'm doing is just cutting from the top like that, right? They're all sliced up, and I just cut them this way. Remember how your finger holds, right? So they come down, they all break it apart into smaller pieces of onions, right? See that? Let's see if I'm missing anything, but I think I'm good. So what I'm about to do right now, is I put my pot stove on high heat and just preheat the pot so it can get nice and hot. And I'm gonna, what's the technical word? I don't know, put the pork in there so the natural oil of the pork gets cooked out to the pot. So this is how much meat we've split into cubes. This is how much meat we cut into cubes over here. And we can't cook them all at once. We'll have to put them down, maybe not even half, I think a couple. Because if you look at the pot, what I don't want to see is what I told you earlier. I don't want to see the water of the meat gets cooked out. I want to see a nice brown on the outside of the meat. So that means I can't put too much pork in there, so the temperature can stay high from the pot, right? So with that being said, I'm gonna put little by little, just cook them and then transfer them to another plate. By the way, these non-sticking pans, not my favorite. As soon as you got scratches, I don't know if you can see scratches inside the pan, but they are just not good. They release microplastic. So I already talked to Tia about getting some new pots that stainless steel or casting iron, so we don't have to deal with this. And for cooking, you don't really want to use these plastic utensils or whatever it is called, because it also releases microplastic. My favorite ones are the metal ones or the wooden ones. Obviously with the wooden ones, you would want to know how to maintain these so they don't get dirty every time you use it. A lot of people be scared when they cook around a hot pot with these materials, but they're not going to splash unless there's very high concentration or unless there's a lot of water with oil. When cold water going into hot oil, that's when it explodes. I think I need a second plate all the cooked meat. Right now, we're gonna move into my favorite step. Again, so once you cook the meat on high heat, you're gonna be left with a lot of oil, right, from the pork. Don't throw this away, because you can use this to cook your other ingredients, right? This is how you keep it nice and good. So what we're gonna do is grab our kimchi right here. It smells heavenly. And we're gonna use a fork to get the kimchi out. This step you cannot skip, in my experience, obviously. I'm not an expert in Korean cuisine, but this is how I found it tastes the best. You want to heat up the grease that you cooked from the pork and then cook the kimchi. This is how you bring out the aroma of the kimchi and fuse it with the oil. And as you cook the kimchi, you're gonna put in your vegetables. You're gonna put in your onion, your garlic, and then you're gonna add in your pork. So let's do that right now. So I might heat up my pan and my oil a little bit. I need a spoon. I would say get the shrimp paste ready. I hear a little sizzling. That's my sign to put in the kimchi. All right. You want to be quick with these as well. You don't want to burn the kimchi, and you want to cool down the temperature of the oil. And you're gonna mix them a little bit, so I can already smell the aroma of the kimchi. So that kimchi cook a little bit, and I think we might need a little bit more kimchi by the look of it. I'm only eyeballing this. I have no recipe in terms of how many kimchi to put, just to your liking. And then you stir this a little bit. So that's gonna bring out all the flavor from the kimchi. Once this is good, so right now, because the kimchi is cold, right, dramatically cooled the temperature of the pot. I'm gonna let the temperature come back a little bit. That's the one negative part with cooking with these electric stove is it cannot maintain that heat, right, that level of heat I wanted. So once the heat is coming back up, what I'm gonna do is add in the onions. So right here. So I'm gonna add in the onions and I'm gonna stir it a little bit. Make sure I don't burn anything at the bottom. Let's see, here's the thing. Technically, I wanna cook my shrimp paste with that hot oil too, but now we don't have that anymore, which is fine. It's the flavor. We're still gonna put some shrimp paste in here. That smells strong. I'm gonna put half a spoon. Maybe this is a full spoon, but I don't know. Half a spoon normally is enough, right? It's a very strong flavor. You don't need a lot. And I'll put this in the sink. We're gonna mix these heavenly, and then mix it well. And now, but last but not least, our meat. And we mix everything with the meat. By the look of this, I might have cooked a little bit too much meat, but that's a happy thing. I might put a little bit more kimchi to go with it. But now, when everything is well mixed, oh, I can't. Hey, did you see that? But anyways, when things are mixed well in the pot, I don't know if you can see this, it's kind of hot. So when things in the pot is well mixed, the color looks right, what you want to do, which I actually forgot, is, so the person that I learned this from on the internet, the Korean auntie, she actually cooked stock with kombu, so seaweed, right? She actually cooked a stock with kombu to put in here. You could put in water, you could put in chicken stock, right? What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna cheat. So I have some chicken powder. I'm gonna mix these with some water, and then they're basically chicken stock. So you put 1 spoon into here, you mix it well in the water, right? And you just pour into here. You know what though? I don't know if this is enough water. So by the look of this, you want the water to, normally you want just enough water to submerge the meat. Not too much, just enough so it can submerge the meat. And I'm turning my stove down to medium. This is some red pepper powder that I would put in for flavor, but also for some color as well. It's not that spicy for me, at least. And we have this as another flavor bomb that would add to the stove. So this adds another added flavor for our stew. The seafood paste, we call it 海鲜酱 in Mandarin. I'm gonna put a little bit of this. Obviously, after that, you stir this pot, mix up all the materials. Well, I'm gonna add a little bit of water in here. So what I'm gonna do is bring it up to high again, and then let it boil. Again, as I'm cooking, I'm constantly cleaning up my space so I don't run into any cluttering issue. I'm gonna leave the kimchi out here. I'm gonna have a little taste test of the broth once it's boiling. And so find the lid, and now the stew is boiling. I wanna try to give it a little taste and then see what other flavors is lacking so I can add it in here. Leftover lemon. Personal preference, I would like a little bit of lemon. Still smells good. Personal preference, I put some lemon juice in here to add a little bit of sour taste. and it helps to tenderize the meat as it cooks. And then this little plastic thing is used to catch the seeds from the lemon. And then half a lemon, I think that will just be enough to bring that kind of flavor balance into this dish. Again, mix it well. Oh, I forgot something critical. Something that I want to add in the stew this time. This is the key. Now, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put the lid on and then turn it to slow because I actually have to go to work in, I don't know, 10 minutes. I have my watch on. I'm gonna let it simmer low. It is bubbling. You can see a little bit of bubbling action going on there. I'm leaving it on low, just gonna let it simmer, and I'm gonna be gone for 2 hours and I'll be back. 2 hours might be a little bit too overkill for this dish. I'm gonna text Tia, let her know to turn the stove off. I don't know, I want to say 45-minute mark, and when I come back I have another hour, so I'll be able to add the spam and the carrots, maybe some potato because that's her favorite, into our stew. I'll see how it tastes. So I have just gotten back home from work. The stew has simmered for about 40 minutes before I turn it off. So I'm gonna give you a little taste to see before we add the extra materials that we have. Beautiful. Use a little bit more salt. Actually, before I do that, oh, never mind. I got the light version, the light spam, which has 50% less fat, 25% less sodium, fewer calorie, which doesn't really matter to me. Smell like spam. We want to slice this spam into cubes right here. Okay, this is not for you. It might smell like cat food, but it's not cat food. My cat is going crazy. It's not for you. I'm cutting them into 1 finger thick, 1 inch maybe. So this dish without spam will be crippled, to say the least. Spam is instrumental. Korean food, Korean dishes, or specific Korean dishes, I think. They're breaking down into this size, which is pretty good, I think. They stopped?
Now the cops are gonna come, they're not gonna do anything.
Let me call them back. I'll let the cops know first. I'll ask them, see how we can approach this. Right, little context. When my wife is our upstate neighbors, they've been blasting music from their balcony. And then every time we call a noise complaint, they always come. For the past time, they came right when the music stopped, or they come an hour later. Music stopped way ahead of that, so let me talk to the officers real quick. Well, I don't think my wife's gonna like this answer from emergency service. They said we just got a call when the music is playing. Hopefully the officer will arrive before the music stops. I guess I don't mind keep calling 911, just letting them know what's going on. So I called them already. The cops, no, I called again. I told them the music stopped. And then they've been playing for the past 3 days. And then they said, you just gotta keep calling. Hopefully the cops will get there next time. They said just keep calling.
Good for their freaking race.
Is it a stereotype that they play loud
That
music?
they're loud.
It is?
Yes.
Do me a favor, can you pick up that piece of carrot? I don't want to say it has something to do with their skin color, but it definitely...
It just has to do with them being inconsiderate human beings. I don't care if they're black, white, green, blue.
They are being ridiculous. So now the stew has been cooking for about 15 minutes. I'll give it a little taste test. I feel like I added a little bit too much water. I guess we'll find out what it tastes like. Well, look, can you hold my phone real quick? On the other side. Tastes like carrots. Well, if you don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of raw carrots taste. What should I do? I'm gonna add a little bit more kimchi. Just a tiny bit of more shrimp paste. I think we should be good. No. We already got it out here. This is kimchi stew. Do a taste test. Tia, can you do a taste test? I don't know, you taste whatever you want to taste. I wouldn't eat the carrots. I don't like carrots. What? You don't look very happy.
I am.
You don't like my food.
I always love it.
Say it louder, they can't hear.
I always love your food. It's good.
Let me taste. That's not what I wanted. The meat is nice and soft. Didn't taste the spam. Let me try the spam real quick. This with some rice. I wish you can taste this.